So today marks my 3 weeks post-op gender reconstruction surgery. The complications that I'm going to go over today are the most common complications you can have post-op gender reconstructive surgery, and I have had 2 of these complications. The first complication I want to talk about is the most common, and this is wound dehiscence. Wound dehiscence is where the stitches start to come apart at the seams. So where they stitch you together, the stitches start to come apart and then your wound starts to separate. So if you can imagine, down there you've got a wound that goes right down like that, creating a V on your outer labia and going under your vulva. And under your vulva is the most common place where the wound starts to separate. It can also happen on the stitch line on the outer labia going up. The stitches can come apart. This is less common. The bottom of the vulva is mainly the area where you will get wound dehiscence. So the next complication is granulation tissue, and this mainly happens when the wounds are healing. And granulation tissue means just excess tissue that is growing when the wounds are healing. It normally happens on the underside, the fourchette, under the vulva, where the wound dehiscence has happened. It can also happen inside the canal as well. And this is treated by silver nitrate. So again, it's a very common complication that will be followed up in your 12-week assessment. And if any intervention is needed, it will be then. With these 2 complications I just talked about, Manuka honey, activated medical Manuka honey, is very much recommended to treat the area at home before you go for your 12-week assessment. And this is the activation Manuka honey. So as you can see, it says activation tube, and you can get gauze as well. Activation Manuka honey gauze that you can put down there like a pad, but gauze. So this complication is the biggest complication I had, and that is a hematoma. So a hematoma is a collection of blood or fluid under the skin. So mainly happens if it's blood, it means a blood vessel has burst under the skin and there's no way for that blood to escape. So what it does is it rips the stitch line, wound dehiscence, and it escapes that way. That's what happened to me. I had a hematoma on day 5 and the blood wanted to escape, so it ripped my stitches and escaped that way. Most common way to tell if you've got a hematoma is very increased swelling, especially on one side of your outer labia, in your mons pubis area, and very dark bruising in that area where the swelling is. So like mine, with a hematoma, you normally just leave it alone and the blood or the fluids comes out naturally. But in some very extreme cases, you will need to go back into theatre and have it drained medically. So this complication is not pretty at all, and it is a prolapse. So your canal can prolapse and bulge out. And this is why it's so important for your first 8 weeks of recovery. Don't be doing no crazy exercise, picking heavy things up, no sudden, sharp, quick movements or jumps or anything like that, because it can cause a prolapse. Also, another thing to prevent a prolapse is when you go for a pee and a poo, make sure you're not pushing. So for the first 5 to 8 weeks, you're not allowed to push for a poo. That's why it's so important you eat a lot of fibre when you're out of surgery and you buy stool softeners or laxatives at home. In my case, I am lactose intolerant. So at the moment, I'm drinking a lot of milkshakes, eating a lot of yogurts and making sure I have a lot of milk in my cereal in the mornings. This acts as a natural laxative to me, so my stools are nice and soft every day. And I saved the worst for last, and this is a fistula. So if you don't know what fistula is, it is a communication between the canal and the colon. So you poo out your vagina, basically. Not the nicest of things, and it is the most feared complication in my opinion. So it is only a 1 in 400 chance of this happening, but it's so important to prep your mind before surgery that this could happen. It's easily fixable, so you would contact the hospital, get to the hospital ASAP, and they will take some of your small intestines out and put a colostomy bag, if I said that right, colostomy bag in, so you're not pooing through your colon, and then they will stitch up any areas that have broke inside, because that's how you get fistula. It means the canal, the top of the canal is ripped open, and there must be an incision in your colon to create that communication between both. So I hope you found this video informative. I wanted to go over all the complications, especially for people who are going for surgery and don't know about complications or don't know about these type of complications, or even if you're not going through surgery and you just want to know. It's a bit of a little informative video.